Welcome back to Overtime Heroics. I'm Mason Shatwell, and joining me today is Harry Hardwick, who recently got a victory on the Cage Warriors trilogy. Harry, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
That's great to hear. I'm going to jump straight into it. How was it to get a win on Cage Warriors?
It was good. It's because the fight itself was that hard. It took like a few days to set in, like how good it was. Just because like immediately after the fight, I was that tired and depleted that it was like I couldn't really take in how good it was. It's, especially with like George winning on the same card. So yeah, it was very good. I'm appreciating it more and more as time passes, if you get me.
What's next for you? Do you want to have another fight on Cage Warriors, or are you seeing what's next?
Nothing definite yet, but Cage Warriors next is looking likely, but nothing, not 100% yet. I'm sort of trying to take this week to just appreciate having a bit of time off and just sort of chill and have no structure in my life. Not have to train twice a day, not have to think about what I eat, just shoving any food into me. Yeah. So I'm just like having a week, a bit more chill, a bit less structure.
Well, I watched the fight back again about an hour ago just so I could refresh my memory on it, and I wanted to ask, in the first round, obviously, when Jean dropped you, what went through your mind when obviously he landed that punch?
It's quite weird because there's like, I remember stepping in to throw a right hand, and then because in a fight you're at like just sort of even in the round one you're at this like level of discomfort and fatigue anyway, but like I couldn't feel anything, so it was almost like a relief from that. It felt, I wouldn't say it felt nice, but it was like there was like a bit of relief from just the whatever was going on. Then stuff played in my head in like a weird order, and I kind of have a vague recollection of doing a technical lift. And then I was facing the other way because like it was his back to the cage, and then all of a sudden it was my back to the cage. And I didn't really know I'd been dropped until like a couple of seconds later, where I started to put like the pieces together in my head. Like, all right, I think I've been dropped. I'm pretty sure that's what's just happened. But yeah, I was pretty sound straight afterwards. It's like, I think it was heavy. It was a big punch, but I think it was still a flash knockdown. Like I wasn't hurt for prolonged periods or stunned really.
What was his power like facing that in the cage?
He hit hard. I mean, it would be pretty. It's not like I could say he doesn't hit hard. He dropped me. First time I've ever been dropped in my life. Yeah, he hit hard. He has a striking style. It was very hard to land any of my own punches without it turning into an exchange. I don't know if that's like our styles, sort of the way they were clashing, but yeah, it was very hard to hit but not get caught with anything myself, or just we expected it. We expected it. That left hook, it was beautiful. Like he set that up really well.
Have you watched the fight back since?
Oh, like about 6 times or something. Yeah, I watched like George's backloads as well.
What was your thoughts on Ndoye as an opponent before getting in there?
I knew he was good, but like, obviously when you have a hard fight with someone, your respect for them goes like way through the roof. But like, proper fought out of his skin. It was just a good fight. He's a really, really good, tough opponent. I seem to only get tough opponents for some reason. I've not had like one easy fight ever. I'm hoping I can fight a can at some point, but it doesn't look likely.
No, especially with the Cage Warriors featherweight scene at the minute is popping off. Is there anyone that you've got in mind that you'd like to fight next?
No, at the minute I'm just sort of flaking out and eating sweets. There's a lot of guys, a lot of names. But yeah, hopefully I get a really easy fight against a can, but I don't see it happening.
Well, when the judges were calling out the decisions, obviously they had 29-28 for him, 29-28 for you, and then I seen when the final judge scored it 30-27 for yourself before they read your name out, your face dropped a bit. What went through your mind when he said 30-27?
Well, because there was I sort of like replayed a bit of the fight in my head. And when he said 30-27, I thought, oh, I got dropped in the first round, so that must have meant the first round of him. And then you can like see me process it and go like, oh no, wait, I dominated the second round and I won the third round. That 30-27 is for me. And I look at Pete, and Pete sort of like gives me a little nod, and then it gets read out, and then I'm like, yeah, sound, I've won. But watching it back, like I definitely won. I think that, obviously I'll be a bit biased, but I think the judge who scored it for him is a moron, and shouldn't be allowed near. He shouldn't be in a position where he can affect fighters' careers because he's a moron. I don't get how he scored it 29-28 Dundee. Like for round one, there was the knockdown, but I won most of that round. But yeah, all right, give him round one. Round two, I dominated. And then round three was a little bit closer than round two, but I still dominated round three. I don't like that judge needs sacking. He's shit. I don't know which one it is, but he's shit. Judges hate me though. Like I don't get it. Like when I fought Luke Ord, I beat Luke Ord. Got scored against me. When I fought Nathan Rose, other than getting kneed in the head in the first round, I dominated that fight. One judge scored it a draw. Judges hate me for some reason, and I don't get it.
Do you think that's a big problem within MMA, even on the local scene nowadays?
Yeah, it's a problem, and I don't see an easy solution. I don't see how it'll be fixed, to be honest. Like it's just part of it, I think. I think one thing that you could do that would maybe fix it a little bit is say if there's an event with press there, have judges aren't allowed. If the press want to speak to the judges shouldn't be allowed to leave until they've spoke to the press and explained themselves afterwards, because then it puts a face to these decisions. It puts a face to what they're doing. Like they get kind of some more accountability, and then they have to explain it. Sometimes they might have a point. We might have been wrong calling it a robbery or something. They might actually have a point. They might have really took care, But what it does is it forces some level of accountability, because at the minute there's none. There's barely any accountability for refs, really. It's like all the officials can just get away with being as shit as they want, and no one, and they're not getting punished for it. Whereas us, the fighters, we put all this effort in, and if we do our job a bit shit, we get battered. We get this loss on our record forever. Our careers get halted. So I think there needs to be some accountability, and they need to fucking realize, like judges and refs and all that, they need to realize that they've got people's healths and careers in their hands. They've got to take it fucking seriously. If they're not taking it like 100% seriously, they should just fuck off. It's a piss take.
Yeah, I completely agree with the refs. It's a big problem at the minute, but obviously on the same card as when you fought earlier on in the night, your brother George fought. What was it? Was you able to watch that fight live while in the locker room?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have really, because I had sort of my adrenaline spiked and dumped hours before I fought myself. So when I fought, I felt very flat. Like normally you need a little bit of adrenaline and a little bit of stuff, but I just felt nothing, which was quite strange. My heart rate was barely, it was elevated a bit from the warm up, but there was nothing, because I think I was nervous for George's fight. I had the big, the big spike of adrenaline, that lift, and then that relief, and then it settled back down again. But he did good. I'm we were sort of each other's main pad holders, and it's like I spent fucking however many weeks getting that left hook to the body, and even with the body pad, it was very unpleasant. So it was good to see that was the shot that finished it, because it was hell, even just holding the pads for it, really. But yeah, it was just good to get because that's the first time it was pros, and I think it's the first time since fucking, I need to stop swearing. It was the first time since 2013 that we'd both fought on the same card and both won. So it was very good. It was just a good experience all around. Good night for the Hardwicks.
What was it like to win on the same night as your brother?
Just at the time, even though it felt good at the time, I think just because my fight was that hard, and I think a bit of head trauma would maybe have affected it as well. but like my testosterone was probably in like minus numbers. My blood sugar was probably in minus numbers. I was just like mega run down after my fight. So like, it didn't really set in. It was just, yeah, this was good. Like, at the time it felt good, but like the more time passes, the better it feels, and the more satisfied we can be, the more we can just be like looking back thinking that was fucking one of the best nights ever, probably the best night of our lives, really.
How was your weight cut for this fight?
Good, because like before, not before the Croatia fight, but previous fights, I didn't really cut weight. I was walking to the cage at about 150, and then in the Smullen fight, kind of like, there was a few positions where I think with a bit of extra strength and a bit of extra muscle, I could have escaped, and then with a bit of extra weight behind the shots that I landed on him in the third round, I could have knocked him out or finished him. So it was like we started working with a strength and conditioning coach after Bellator in Italy. So it was like just put on a lot of weight. Well, I try to put on as much weight as possible, which I kind of got a bit fatter on Christmas, to be fair, but it was just months and months of like the strength training and the strength training protocol. And then my last two fights, I've actually had weight to cut, and I've walked into the cage. Well, last one about 71 kilos, and this one about 71.5 kilos, 72 kilos or something. But like, it feels good to actually have weight to cut and then have some muscle, or actually when I rehydrate, I can like put the weight back on. So yeah, it actually feels good. Like, I don't mind the weight cut. You get all these babies that complain about it too much, whereas like when I was in the bath, the guy who I had helping me in the bath was sat eating a pizza. Like, I was like, I don't, because it was just the way that the schedule, like that's when their food came, and I was like, oh, we want to start weight cutting now, and they were like, oh, you sure you're all right with me eating? And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm just gonna sit in the hot bath. It's sound.
Well, after your fight, what was the first thing that you went and ate?
Well, I was like desperate for some sugar just afterwards, immediately, because like I was just I just spent all my energy, so it was like immediately after. I think all I had access to was I had some electrolyte drink that I just necked, and it didn't touch the sides, and then I was still desperate for sugar, and then at the desk where I went to get paid, they had some Haribo sours. And I was like, oh, that's some. Can I have some of them, please? And I had them, but like the inside of my mouth was all cut to fuck, so the sour bit was just agony. And then, because I was just like, I need sugar, and I need sugar. I kept whinging about it. The cut woman who did the hand wraps, she gave me some drink, but then when I finally got back to the hotel room, I thought, oh, I'll just have like a few squashies, and then just the whole bag vanished, and then some cereal. I had like some cereal bars that were still there. Then I had some chocolate, and then we looked on like Deliveroo, and because like garlic dip's a big deal in Middlesbrough, like you can't go anywhere without getting garlic dip. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's just Middlesbrough loves garlic for some reason. Well, I was looking on Deliveroo, and there was a pizza place that was half price, so half London price is Middlesbrough prices.
Yeah.
And they sold garlic dip with the pizza, so I had pizza. Was just fucking like covering it in garlic. I had a can of Coke. I haven't had a can of Coke in years. But yeah, normally I like to have a beer after a fight, but I think it's not wise to fill yourself with alcohol when you've taken that much trauma to the head. So I'll probably have my first beer probably tomorrow.
What's your favourite thing that you've been eating while you've been at home after the fight?
Parmo. Do you know what a Parmo is? It's
you're gonna have to fill me in on this one.
Right. So basically, it's like Middlesbrough and Teesside's. It's like our dish. It's like a junk food that you almost only get here. There is a restaurant called Manjaro's, which is a Teesside-based one that's like branched out into every major city in the UK, and they sell Parmos in every major city. But what it basically is, it's like butterfly chicken. And it's breaded and deep fried. And when they take it out of the deep fryer, you get a thick bechamel sauce, and you put it on top of the breaded chicken, and then typically it's cheddar on top of that, and then you put it under the grill or the broiler, so it gets like the cheese melts, and you get this like almost like caramelized cheese effect. And then obviously there's some places that do like, well, everywhere you can get toppings on it. So like a very popular topping is like pepperoni or something on top of the Parmo. But you get that, My preferred topping, I think, is bolognese. You can get bolognese Parmos. Well, yeah, you get that, and then everywhere you get garlic dip with it. I think that's probably why. So it's like you just bits of Parmo, garlic dip. Abdullah, our head coach, treated us to some burgers last night. That was nice. I've been eating lots of chocolate. I've been eating lots of cereal as well. Like I really enjoy cereal. I've just lots of things, lots and lots of food. But Parmos, they're the number one.
Yeah, I want to go back to your fight before the Cage Warriors won, the one in Croatia. I remember seeing it on your Facebook a couple of days before, where you told everyone you was fighting. Was it a fight that came about short notice, or was it something you just didn't announce?
Relatively short notice. Like I knew about it so it was like I had 4 weeks notice, so I had 3 full weeks of training for it. But honestly, I just wasn't asked. It was like they didn't make a poster, and I was like, fuck it, I'll just train. It actually worked out quite well though, because like the surprise, I'm in another country and I'm fighting in a few days. It was quite interesting. Got a lot of people just being like, "What the fuck?" But yeah, I knew about. I had 3 weeks to train for that one, which I actually felt like that was a good time. That was a good amount of time because I'm always in the gym. I'm always like there's that phrase, "Oh, stay ready," so you don't have to get ready. That's not quite true because like you can't sustain being ready for fighting. All year. You fuck your body up. But I'm always in the gym and I'm always like ready to get ready, if you get me.
Yeah.
So the 3 weeks felt perfect for that one. I actually felt probably maybe a bit better for that one, even though it was short notice, than I did for this one. So I'm probably gonna have to like change how I do my camps or something.
Well, you got the finish in that fight. How did it feel to finish your opponent?
It felt good. Felt like I had loads of energy left over because normally my fights are very hard. So it was yeah, it was good. It was like because there was a lot of things for that fight that probably didn't make sense. Like I'd never won. I'd had 2 fights abroad and I never won abroad. So I'd always flown home a loser, which sucks. Two of the fights I lost, the odd fight and the small fight. I mean, I didn't lose the odd fight, but fucking shit judges. But we're against former lightweights with like a very smothering, grappling heavy style, and that's what this opponent was. And then in professional combat sports, 2 of the I've lost a professional kickboxing fight as well, but 2 of the fights I lost were short notice. So it was like there was so many things that were just like a sort of accumulate, just factors in each of the losses I'd had, and that fight had all of those things. But it was still like because of how I'd sort of addressed it, that was the most confident. Well, the last one I was very confident for as well, but I was probably the most confident I've ever been going into a fight up until the Undoi fight. I just felt good, felt sharp, felt ready, and it just felt good. I was a bit gutted that I submitted him though, because like I dropped him and I was hitting him, and he gave me his neck and I just took it. But at the time, that was my 6th win, and if I'd have TKO'd him or knocked him out, I'd have had 2 decision wins on my record, 2 submission wins on my record, and then 2 knockout wins on my record, which would have like been perfect for my OCD. But I submitted him, so then it looks all over the place. So it was like 2 decision, 3 submission, 1 knockout. I suppose that counts to 1, 2, 3. But now it's 3 decisions and 3 submissions on my record and the 1 knockout. So I need to knock my next 2 opponents out to make it even. And to be fair, the split decision in the last fight probably helps because now I've got a unanimous decision win, a majority decision win, and a split decision win. So,
as I mentioned earlier, obviously your brother George fought on the same card, and you train with him every day. How does it feel to obviously have your brother there day in day out training with each other?
A bit annoying. We get quite sick of each other, to be fair. That's why I'm actually glad this week he's off with his lass and doing stuff, so it's like we don't have to spend so much time with each other. But Like honestly, the amount of times we can be sat and we'll just sort of like be sat in silence next to each other because like if there's nothing to say, we don't need to say anything. But like he's a good round, I guess. Bit of a mong. Am I allowed to say that?
You've said it.
Yeah, I've said it. It's the trouble with like it's one of jiu-jitsu's dirty secrets is like jiu-jitsu has all kinds of terms like that and it just becomes part of your vocabulary. But it's jiu-jitsu's fault, not mine.
I'm sure when you were kids, you and George were getting into fights all over the place. Is that an accurate thing to say?
Yeah, we were like too small to hurt each other though, so it was all right. It was like a lot of pro wrestling inspired stuff because we were like really like WWE and stuff back then, and because it was actually good back then. But yeah, we were quite because we've got an older brother as well, who doesn't fight or train, but he was also he was also quite scrappy with us when we were younger. So yeah, maybe that's where the toughness comes from. Because like thinking about it, we did get into fighting relatively late. Like I started when I was 15, so that's that's a lot older than a lot of these people. Like, and I'd done no sports before then. George was 12 or 13 at the time, and like neither of us had done anything or any sports before it. But yeah, just lots of scrapping in the house, and like we'd go into the garden because there was loads like bamboo sticks and just like have like sword fights with bamboo and whack fuck out of each other.
Oh yeah, well I think we spoke quite a bit today. I want to ask, do you have any shout outs or sponsors or anything you want to sign off with at all?
Yeah, shout out to Middlesbrough Fight Academy, obviously the main base. Shout out to Abdul Mohammed, the head coach. Shout out to Peter Irving, the jiu-jitsu coach, and like he's more than that really. Shout out to Leon Arms for coming to corner. He hasn't even had his amateur debut yet. He came to London to corner us for Cage Warriors and ended up on the vlog. So shout out to that jammy bastard. Shout out to Rev Gear. Shout out to Violent Money. Massive shout out to J Mac and Lou McCarthy because like the medicals for these fights would have financially ruined us if it wasn't for him. Shout out to Aaron Flanagan of Bespoke Health, and then shout out to Mobeen Hussein for his waste removal company that also sponsored us. And come on, I think that's it. Oh, and massive shout out to Unit 29, the strength and conditioning coach. There we go. I knew I'd forgot someone.
And how
massive game changer for me going there.
And how can people find yourself on social media?
My Facebook is just my Facebook. My friend request things clogged anyway. I try and keep that more of just like friends and stuff. So don't try and find me on Facebook. I don't have Twitter because I fucking hate it. Just Instagram. Harry I Hardwick on Instagram. No Twitter. Twitter's awful.
Well, Harry, it's been a pleasure, mate, and I can't wait to see you back in the cage again.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.